Hey everybody, this is Alzorath, and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Hex. First off, I'm going to say sorry about the lack of House of Cards. They will be coming. It's just, I've been having some issues with YouTube lately. It's taking upwards of 12 to 20 hours for even short episodes. But it will be fixed soon, hopefully. Now, as for what I want to talk about today, should this actually arrive on time, it might be up on Saturday. I'm recording it on Thursday. I want to talk about heroes, or champions as they're called in Hex, or more precisely, the pitfalls for players who are new to TCGs when it comes to considering their heroes. As well as, I want to cover my views on how heroes will impact the game as a whole. Starting off, I'd like to say that Hex follows Magic the Gathering fairly faithfully down quite a number of paths, only deviating slightly in areas such as resources, and being in general a bit more fun or free in terms of the liberties they take with the high fantasy setting and stories, which, might I add, is kind of necessary with the MMO aspect they plan to utilize for player versus computer challenges and the free-to-play aspect of the game in general. Hex does deviate into this different realm that is the subject of this whole video, and that is the core mechanic of champions, or what essentially amounts to player avatars. Now, some people who are coming to this may be thinking of champions in the sense of the hero-based TCGs. There's a few of them out there. You can even watch one on my channel. It's Shadow Era. This is where the hero comes first, then the deck. Hex actually benefits from taking the reverse role, deck before hero. In a role-playing sense, this is really counterintuitive. Abilities before ability wielder, what? But yeah, from a strategic sense, it actually makes the champion aspect much more geared towards allowing more diverse number of playstyles, more akin to Magic the Gathering, where there is a greatly diverse play set and greatly diverse set of play styles because they're not limited by this hero thing. And this really limited play style is something that hero limited games suffer from. It really causes them to stagnate if they are not extremely careful with the card sets they allow out. Now, with this diversity though, comes pitfalls. Simply put, you can also cripple yourself by utilizing some strategies that are best left entirely for casual play, or that are just completely impractical in Hex at this point in any playstyle. Such as, let's say, the hero bluff, which is basically utilizing a hero that is counter-indicative of your actual strategy, something really only available in Hex right now, and only really works in one-offs. Or something like trying to make a hero bomb, which is a strategy centered around making your hero the source of the win condition, which is really only viable in hero first type games, because in hero first type games they're able to make the specific hero strong enough on their own that they're able to use just the limited card pools provided them to make the hero kind of stand by themselves. A great example of this, if you follow any of my Shadow Era content, like I said before, is the Lone Wolf, which is a strong hero, and he's basically centered around being the one and only win condition for that deck. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on, and let's go ahead and talk about an example of how a player might follow into the trap of a hero bluff. Let's say a player has developed a draw-go deck, which, for those of you unfamiliar with Magic the Gathering or similar TCGs, is a deck that relies on a lot of control and basically limiting your opponent's options, and it gets its name from the fact that you draw and say go. You have a lot of counter spells and stuff like that. And the way they fall into the trap is, hey, they may attempt to throw another player off by utilizing an ally buff hero, or simply just a hero that doesn't match the draw-go mentality. Now, this could work to throw the opponent off, but it also has downsides. Two major ones. One, you're actually giving up a lot of potential power by ditching that hero. Wouldn't you rather just get more benefit from that? It's basically a card slot where you'd have, say, a mill hero or a draw hero, or at the very least a hero that would slow down enemy troops or spells, or even summon your own troops for a supposed little mini backup plan. But on top of that, you also risk the issue of potentially steering an enemy into a playstyle that could actually be more damaging to you. Let's say instead of saving the removal for your potential future flyer, if you say get the hero that gives flying to your creatures, What if they just go extremely aggro to try and outrace this potential bomb and end up just outracing your control as well? This increased aggressiveness could actually be your downfall. Now, I have to admit, this is very theoretical, and players don't have that much control over what they draw outside of draw accelerants, but this is one of just a variety of ways this could backfire. Simply put, it could mess with the thoughts of leveled thought, which is a way of indicating any thought process in a competitive game where you judge your opponent's level of thought, and it could do this in a negative way for you if you're not careful. This is especially true whenever you don't know how your opponent is going to react. This is like random matches and stuff like that, where the bluff would be most effective, is also the one where you can least predict what your opponent's going to do. Simply put, the hero bluff, in my opinion, is best left to casual play with friends and is outright useless competitively, especially since competition is generally more than a one-off match against an opponent. The other, and honestly the bigger threat, which I wanted to lead into second, is players trying to make a hero bomb, basically gearing their entire deck towards making a single hero that main win condition, or making the win condition so centered around that hero that it kind of can't separate from it and survive on its own. This would usually, if you're going to make the hero itself the win condition, you're going to need so much land, and if you can get it, charge boosting cards, that you're going to be basically thin and just a target for those first several turns, and you're going to be lucky to survive long enough to get your ability off once, much less multiple times. And honestly, there's only one hero I can even remotely rationalize for the hero bomb strategy, and even then you'd be sacrificing far too much for that effect. For those wondering, just look around for the hero with rock elementals, for which one I'm talking about. And even then, like I said, you'd be sacrificing so much. You'd want to kind of integrate it into, say, a creature-focused deck, and then you'd just want to move completely away from the hero bomb aspect and just utilize the ability on its own. Simply put, hero bombs don't work on their own unless we get more charge abilities, and even then, generally, they'll most likely only be mediocre at best and require an extremely strong control deck to support their slower nature. I wouldn't recommend them at all, but I see a lot of new players probably wanting to fall into this simply because they see this shiny hero and want to say, ooh, I want to make him the best he can be, rather than saying, I want to make this the best deck it can be. As far as my opinions on the champions and stuff like that, let's say it this way. Champions are leaders, and they're playing a support role. They're not going to be the frontline troops. They're not going to be the win conditions. They utilize their charges. I probably should have covered this earlier in the video, but they utilize their charges generated by playing things such as resource cards. This actually greatly limits the frequency and quantity of times a hero can trigger their ability in a given game. This is why those first two strategies don't work. In a draft, you have maybe 17 resources. In constructed, maybe 24, maybe a little bit higher depending on what you're playing. Which, unless you're playing a long game or get into a stalemate, it's going to be rare to even play half of your resources to get those charges. The exception maybe being an acceleration deck or possibly a charge acceleration deck if it ends up being a thing, which we haven't seen any solid evidence of in the first set. What does all this mean for their use? This means they can play the role of a permanent support ability, which is what I said before, as long as you're alive. They're just a permanent presence there. They are you. They are your ability. But they won't be game-changing enough in and of themselves to be the cornerstone of a given deck's win condition. The key to hero choice will be the ability to augment the win condition, counter a weakness in your deck construction, or provide a cheap overall beneficial ability. Cough cough mill. I actually really love that hero for Sapphire. You'll be able to trigger multiple times in a row with a good enough effect on the battle. I mean, it is a cheap ability for the Sapphire hero that mills away 2 cards for 2 charge. That's really good. Now, on that note, we currently do actually have a decent variety of heroes available, which I'll link in the description down below. You guys can look up each of the heroes I mentioned, as well as probably some others if you dig around enough. And if I had to guess, we're likely to see a good deal more champions arise before the release of the game, or even just in the early release. But I have a feeling, both in my gut and by running some numbers, that only a select few heroes will actually see frequent use. This is mainly due to the fact that the heroes currently do not feel especially well balanced in relation to each other. Some actually appearing to be basically just the hero equivalent of a dreg. I'm not sure whether it's intentional, but I mean, look at Gozog. I'm not going to put him up on the screen, but you'll see him down in the links below. He basically is a kind of costly ability for one life drain, and that's all you get from him. And you're not going to be using it very often, so that's not going to get you much in the way of mileage in the game. Part of me actually hopes these weaker heroes either have cards that they'll synergize well with by, saying, amplifying their power, the effect of their ability, or possibly have more utility in the PvE section of the game, such as in story advancement or in prize cards you could get through defeating raids. But that all will only be told with time and possibly the release of the alpha and the beta. As it stands with the currently spoiled champions, for me, I currently see myself having difficulty selecting a Ruby hero that synergizes with my playstyle. I mean, their direct damage and some kind of temporary effects for the most part. But I also see myself having difficulty selecting a Sapphire hero for the exact opposite reason. I mean, they all merge well with the way I like to play. One of them's a draw accelerant, one of them's a mill, another one gives flight to creatures. So it will be interesting to see what heroes actually work and which ones just become dust collectors, which ones actually make a color more favorable to play simply because it turns strategies that would otherwise be equivocal between colors into favoring one because of the hero, especially on the cheaper abilities. Because I can see myself going for the mill guy over the draw guy simply because the mill is so much cheaper. While the draw is nice, getting rid of 2 of the enemy's cards is very nice as well, because that removes their options. Now, I'd like to just kind of pose a question at the end of this now, since I've been going for a decent while now, about 12 minutes. I'm trying to make this a short episode, simply because I want to have it upload on time. But I want to hear you guys' opinions on each of the heroes. What do you see as the dregs of the hero types? What do you see as the exceptional ones of the heroes? What do you see as the hero equivalent of a bomb, since none of them can really be a bomb on their own? Which ones do you see as being the strongest? Are their abilities overpriced or underpriced for the effect? Comment down below and be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I've said comment about 20 million times now. And even share this content if you enjoy it. And I really do look forward to your opinions. I look forward to discussion. I will try to cover the heroes on special episodes of House of Cards, because I see champions and heroes as kind of a separate thing from the core cards. So they're going to really get a specific kind of higher status in the reviews. But yeah, this has been Alzorath. Keep gaming, have fun, peace out, and I'll see you guys next time on Friday Night Hex. Bye.